Hello.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the fifth episode of Conscious Women Connect podcast, the podcast where we talk to women from really a lot of different spheres. And today we have a guest who is someone who I think is doing very interesting and important work. I feel like it's something that it's not too popular, too common. But maybe I'm wrong. And especially among women, I feel, especially among Western women, I haven't seen many Western women specifically who have gone really deep into this topic that we're going to discuss today. And I quite admire the efforts of our guest today, and what she's doing, and I'm really interested to hear from her. So without further ado, we welcome Alexandra Lokman.
Yeah, thank you. It's a pleasure and a big honor for me to be a participant of such a podcast.
Great. Now, I don't think we've ever met in person, right?
Well, I think I have seen you from the distance somewhere, but yeah, we have never met. But we
Right.
will, for sure, because there will be some events one day in Kiev and we will meet.
Yeah. Um, Now, I feel like in Kyiv, where we both are now, I believe, right?
No,
In Kyiv, you're not in Kyiv now?
I don't live in Kiev. I
Oh,
live in a suburb of Kiev.
okay. I thought you live in Kyiv City. So anyway, where we live, there are events that go on, and there are many kind of like Veda kind of events and culture. And I've just seen that people in Ukraine and in Kyiv, they really like yoga culture, and they really are into all this kind of ancient traditional kind of stuff. It's not only yoga culture. Sometimes it's um like Slavonic Vedas or other kind of just like it's just some kind of hipster culture in a way. It's like new neo paganism, or people. I feel like in Eastern Europe there's this trend toward understanding a lot about the ancient traditions and the ancient cultures, because, well, maybe because of the Soviet past, where things were like you can't, like that oppression on
Yeah,
like
yeah.
on knowing
Oppressive
about your
ways.
culture. It's not only like it's not only about like oppression of Christianity. It's like oppression of all kinds of spirituality, and oppression of also ancient and old traditions. And we know that in Ukraine right now also it's like there's a big interest in understanding the old Ukrainian traditions, especially with the war going on and everything. People want to understand their traditional Ukrainian culture, and really where they come from, even from beyond Christianity. Like prior to the Christian history, I believe that Ukraine was baptized, right? Or
Yes, of course, of
yeah,
course.
yeah. So what you do kind of ties into that, I feel. So today our topic is about Sanskrit, and about, well, basically you study Sanskrit and you teach it, right?
Right.
Um, Anyway, you are our guest today, so we can talk
Okay.
more about more different tangents. I don't want to get too far from our topic today, which is really about you and the work you do. So, why don't you tell us, your name,
Okay, it's a good
where you're
start.
from
Yeah, I
exactly,
think
and what you do. Yeah,
yeah, I think it's a good start in the right way. Okay.
yeah.
So my name is Alexandra. Yeah, it's your name. Alexandra Lokman. And I'm from the east of Ukraine, actually.
Mm,
So, and it's interesting for me that I was born in a family where, like, we did not have any religion. And in the place where I grew up, I'm from Lysychansk. It's a town in Luhansk region. So it's like very, very east of Ukraine, Russian-speaking area. And there are not many people even who follow Christianity on a spiritual level. Maybe formally they follow it. Maybe they believe themselves Christian, but not in reality. So, and when I was a child, I told my parents about vegetarianism, about yoga, about meditation. Like this is the only way, and they were always surprised. Yeah. But when I was in my school and I needed to choose a subject to study, I wanted to study languages, and I decided to apply to Kiev University because at that time it was believed to be the best. And I had to choose between French language because I studied French at school. I don't remember it like properly now, but I studied it, yeah. Just because I know that you speak French also. I was afraid you will ask something. Yeah, okay. Also, I studied English, and I was choosing between French, German, and Hindi. Hindi because one of my friends who at that time had already like graduated from school, he was studying Indonesian language. And he told me about this like a block of, not block, I mean like Institute of Oriental Languages and Oriental Studies. And he told me that maybe you should try India. And I was thinking like, okay, yeah, I'm interested in yoga and everything, but it was not available at my town at that time. And internet was only developing. So it was only the beginning of internet and everything. And when I was going to Kiev, I was going myself alone. I mean, without parents, because my father was very ill and they could not go with me. And when I was going to Kiev, I met an Indian. It was the first time in my life when I met an Indian in my compartment, and we were speaking with him in English. And I was like, maybe it's like a sign of the universe, to apply for Hindi. And when I came there, they told me that if you are a really good student, you will have a chance to go to India. And I was thinking like, oh, I don't have money and everything, so it's the only chance for me to visit the country. So I decided to study Hindi. So basically my first language and language which I know, of course, better than Sanskrit is Hindi. So I studied Hindi language and literature at university. And when I was in my third year, I got a scholarship from Indian ministry. It is called ICCR, like Indian Intercultural. Sorry, I forgot the proper name. Like ICCR, it's like a cultural ministry in India, which gives scholarship to people from different countries. So I received the scholarship with my group mate, and we went to India. And when I was in India, there after living there maybe for almost 1 year, I understood that actually I want to learn Sanskrit because Hindi is like modern language. It's beautiful, but its roots like come from Sanskrit, and Sanskrit has many similarities between Ukrainian and Russian. So knowing these languages, it will be easier to study it. And so I made a wish in India to study Sanskrit. But when I was there, I did not have a teacher. And I only I downloaded some books. I decided just to dive into the topic, but I had not started studying it yet. And when I came back to Ukraine, so it was like so many circumstances, coincidences that happened at the same time. When I came back to Ukraine, I turned to know that the ambassador of India and Ukraine, who was there at the time, his name was is Manoj Kumar Bharti. He started giving his own Sanskrit classes for people. So I was invited to join the class, but it was very easy for me because I already knew Hindi, so it was like too easy. And then more and more people started coming to these classes, and he was not he was an ambassador, yeah, he was not a teacher. So he knew how Indian students study, the way of studying, yeah. So he tried to use the same methods on Ukrainian common people, but
Mm.
they did not work. And then he invited few other teachers to try to and asked them to try to teach to people, but it also did not work out. And then I just said that I can provide, I knew Sanskrit like on the basic level. And I said, I can provide this basic level for people, like very, very beginning classes for beginners. And people started coming to me. So it
Mm.
was, I did not plan actually to teach Sanskrit. I did not, I did
Mm.
because, I was on the basic level. I think I did not have any plans for my future at that time. Just it happened itself. And when people started to come to me to study Sanskrit, it inspired myself to study more. And then I noticed that people who are attracted to Sanskrit, they are of some type. So I can say that all these people that you mentioned, like who are looking for Ukrainian roots, yeah, of the cultural roots and everything, I can say that they are seekers. They are seekers of some spiritual growth.
Mm.
So they were very kind. They were so open-minded. So it was such a pleasure for me to have lessons with them. And then we started to organize some very small theater group and concerts and everything, and it was becoming bigger and bigger like that. So this was the way how I came to teaching Sanskrit and to studying it also.
Mm. Wow. So I have a few questions.
Okay.
The first one being, if you grew up in a small town where there was no even understanding of really, or like deeper Christianity, how did you come to discover about yoga and uh, like vegetarian or this kind of thing?
Uh, Really, when I was a child, I remember that I had a clear understanding that this time I am Alexandra Lokman.
Mm.
Previous time I was someone else, really.
Mm.
And I think that it came from past lives. And I can't say that I believed in reincarnation. When
Mm.
I was a child, I knew for sure that it's like that, and I always felt the presence of God. And when I once I heard how my father was discussing some questions like, does God exist? Like with some people. And I was surprised that he's asking such a question. It's so clear,
Mm.
it was so clear for me. Yeah, so I think it's something from past lives. Because otherwise I can't explain it. Nobody in my family was not interested in such things, and even now they are not interested in such
Mm.
things. Yeah, and I grew up in the 90s. On the east of Ukraine, we had a lot of mafia. I don't know, do I pronounce it correctly or not?
Mafia.
But mafia, yeah, we had a lot of mafia, and so many things were happening there at the time, and still, it was like that.
Mm. So when you came to study Hindi, um, like how did you find that process? Was it difficult for you or yeah? Mhm.
We had very good teachers,
Mm.
we had very good teachers, especially our first teacher, like who gave us the basics of Hindi. She was
Mm.
like very good methodologist, and like she was really good.
Mm.
And then we have a teacher still, he's teaching at university. He speaks Hindi so good as it's sometimes you think that it's his second, language, his mother tongue.
Mm.
So we had really good teachers. Yeah, it was not so, it's like, um, when you study something new, it's always difficult in the beginning,
Mhm.
but time helps. Yeah, with time, with practice,
Mm.
you go deeper and deeper, and then it become for your brain comfortable to use this language and everything.
Mm. So I feel like um I mean, I have studied Sanskrit a little bit in the past in my life. When I was in Canada, I had a teacher who would teach me Sanskrit. I would go to her She was working in the University of Montreal, McGill University. And I feel like that's a good sign. That's a good
Yeah,
sign.
yeah.
That's a error alert is over, everyone. So that's a good sign. But I want to say that I feel like this department of like Sanskrit, really studying Sanskrit on the university level, it's not so common in the Western world. Is it correct?
Well, there are people who study Sanskrit on a university level, but at our university, at the time when I was studying, we did not have Sanskrit department. We had only Hindi. We had a teacher who knew Sanskrit, but she did not give classes at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And when she did, after we graduated, she used materials I would not choose for studying Sanskrit, for teaching Sanskrit. Like Russian book, which was created for comparative linguistics. So it's a bit different. Yeah, of course, it's a bit different because when you study something at the university level, you go in such details, which are very important for any academician and so on and so far. But when you study for yourself, for your soul, you can enjoy the process. You can take as much time as you want, as you need, and you can go very slowly, and you can choose what you're really interested in and to go there, because Sanskrit is enormous. It's an endless way. Like studying any language is like you will study it for your lifetime, yeah. But studying Sanskrit is it looks like you will have to study it for many lives, not for one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what is Sanskrit language actually called in Sanskrit language? Is it Devanagari?
No, Devanagari
No.
is an alphabet. It's an alphabet used
Mm,
for. It's like the most popular alphabet. It's not the
mm-hmm,
one, the only one.
mm-hmm,
So there were many alphabets developed for like writing in Sanskrit. And
mm-hmm,
for example, Indians from the South India, they prefer to use their own scripts of their languages
mm-hmm,
for writing in Sanskrit because it's because of this political
mm-hmm,
use. They try to um, like they try to use their own languages and alphabets instead of using Devanagari, which is used for Hindi also.
mm-hmm.
Sanskrit called Sanskritam.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
but it was like the last name. It was not it
Mm-hmm,
was they did not call it like that from the beginning, At the beginning it was Daivi Vak, Daivi as divine, Vak as speech, divine speech.
mm-hmm. So it's believed that Sanskrit comes from the gods. Is that correct?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. It is traditional way of thinking. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Now, I know that many people make comparisons about language and how it's carried over. And especially, I know in the region of the world that we are in, that a lot of people from actually different countries will say that like there are a lot of roots in the Slavic languages and in Lithuanian or in Russian language of coming from Sanskrit. So could you tell us like about some of the history connection with that?
Yeah, of course. Some people even believe that Sanskrit is coming from Ukrainian or Russian or the Slavic languages. Yeah, it is very popular, really. In every country, there are such people who believe that everything comes from their land. Yeah, well, scientists believe that it was a proto-Indo-European language
Mm,
somewhere on the territory of Ukraine. So yeah, where we had Yamna culture. So there are many publications lately about this, that people in Europe mostly come from Yamna culture, and Yamna culture was in the south of Ukraine.
mm,
So yeah, so there was some people lived on this land, maybe not exactly in Ukraine, yeah, but somewhere nearby, and they spoke a language, and then they divided into different tribes, or something like that happened. And those tribes migrated in different regions, carrying this language away from each other. So some words really still exist, and they sound very similar, you know, like mother is one of the most ancient words which was like preserved from that language. Mother, mati, mater, mater in Sanskrit, yeah, mère in French. So like they are very similar. Mutter or something like that in German. Yeah. So really the root is one, but as those tribes migrated, yeah, the languages was developing differently. And the difference between maybe our languages and Sanskrit is that those people who carried Sanskrit, yeah, I mean, Aryans, as they called themselves, they managed to preserve it. Yes, they managed to preserve it almost without changes since like long time. So many thousand years, they preserved it. They used the same. They tried to use the same language for spiritual hymns and sciences. So they managed to save it. And we speak modern languages. So languages which had a lot of changes since that times.
It's interesting. I've never heard that theory where Sanskrit comes from Europe or Ukraine. Is it?
So yeah. I don't want to say that from Ukraine, exactly from Ukraine, but Ukraine was a part of that. There was no Ukraine at the time, yeah, no countries actually, but some territory was there, was here too, near the Black Sea. Yeah, it's one of them. There are actually different theories, you know, of location of that Proto-Indo-European tribe who spoke that language, but one of them is that it was near Ukraine.
I see.
So of course, still we have a lot of words in common with Sanskrit. For example, mater, yeah, in Ukrainian mater. In Sanskrit, there is a word for father, tata, and we have same in Ukrainian and Polish, yeah, tato, tata. There is a word like sunu. Sunu is like son. Yeah, even it sounds similar to English to sin. Yeah, daughter in English. Why it is written like that? Because in Sanskrit it's like duhitr, duhitr. You know, almost same sounds, but they are not pronounced in English. And we have like dochka in Ukrainian, so it's also like very similar. And many other things. You know, many other words. You find them always. For example, such a word as spriha. Spriha means like a longing, very strong desire. And in Ukrainian we have spraha. Spraha means to feel thirsty, but still, you know, it's very close, yeah, because you feel thirsty for something, you desire it. So yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah. I wanna ask, you know, how did you feel when you first well, I should ask, what was your first encounter with Sanskrit language?
Well, I think I don't remember, but I think that I first encountered with Sanskrit language when I was studying Hindi. And maybe when I was in India and I was reading some mantras because it was interesting for me. I knew how to read. There are some differences in reading in Sanskrit and Hindi, so I knew how to read in Sanskrit, but I did not understand properly, you know, even because Hindi grammar is different from Sanskrit grammar. Sanskrit grammar is more similar to Ukrainian and Russian. Because the Sanskrit uses endings, word endings to express relations between words, same as in Ukrainian and in Russian. And when I came back to Ukraine and I started to study Sanskrit, I was surprised how logical it is. So basically, like everything is so developed in it. So I mean, you know, the name Sanskrit means like well processed. So everything in this language is so well processed, all grammar, everything is so logical. And I mean, you have a feeling like you know, some IT engineers of the past,
Mm,
or we can say some language engineers of the past were creating this language to make it perfect in
mhm,
all the senses.
mm. Yeah, there is. I have read something or heard something about a theory around why both Indians and people coming from this area of the world, like in Ukraine, are such good IT programmers because they have experience with these language systems where it's like coding in a way, you know. What I know from studying Sanskrit myself, it's like it is like writing something in HTML, for example,
Yeah.
you know. And sometimes it's really like everything all together, just like one sentence can just be like even with no breaks, isn't it? Or something like this.
Yeah. Either
So
it is.
yeah.
Yeah, but I think that maybe there are such type of texts in Sanskrit like sutras. Sutras really resemble code. Yeah, because the same system is used. So you choose some code name for some notion or for some, I don't know, like theory or some philosophical notion, and you use it. So you don't need to say again the same with the whole like name, yeah, or for the whole idea. You just use this very short code word for it, and you can write. So this way it allows you to write very short sentences, but you need to know how to decode them. And when you decode them, it can become a very big text.
Hmm.
So this
Interesting.
really like, yeah, IT code.
Hmm. It's like shrinking the link,
Yeah,
something
yeah.
like this. Uh,
Yeah.
wow. Yeah, there are many, many spheres are that I totally don't know about in Sanskrit, of course. Yeah, but I would like to ask, about your first. Now, do you still work with the Indian Embassy?
No, and I actually, when I worked with them, I was like a volunteer. It was not a
Mm,
work. Yeah, so
okay.
they did not pay me anything. And they did not pay to any teacher who worked there. It was just, just inspired people gathered together, and we started to give classes like in
Hmm.
Sanskrit, in Hindi, in dances, in
Hmm.
drawing, Indian drawing, and
Hmm.
in Ayurveda, and so on and so far.
Hmm.
So no, I don't work with them now.
Okay, okay. Um, so like when you did work with them, um, what like well, first of all, I mean, how did you actually learn Sanskrit from Hindi? Was it self-study or did you have teachers for that?
It was self-study. I was looking for a teacher, but
Mm-hmm.
somehow it happened so that it was self-study mostly. Only now I applied to study at university at Indian. Now Indian university provide like long distance education, and you can study even being in your country, and you can even pass the exams being in your country. You don't need to come. So now I applied for university degree. Yeah, but
Okay.
at that time it was self-study. I don't know, it again, it was like it happened itself. It was happening itself. Some books, I believe that not we choose books, but books choose us, as
Mm-hmm.
magical wands in Harry Potter. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
so at that time, Taras, you know him, Trivikram does.
Mm-hmm.
He was like a big Sanskrit, how can we say, not lover, but like he studied.
Enthusiast.
Yeah, into
Enthusiast.
this. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So he went to India and he brought me a wonderful book. It was called Devavani Praveshika. So it was designed for university students of the first year of education in some universities in the West by American scholars. So it was my first book actually, which I chose to study Sanskrit, and
Mm-hmm.
it gave very good basics, really good. And then after that, as I was teaching at the same time, I mean, after completing this book, yeah, I was teaching the very, very basics to people I was looking for easier books because this book is too difficult for common people
Mhm.
who do not have any background. So I was looking and I was trying different methods, different books, children books made in India or
Mhm.
other manuals designed for Western people. And yeah, and I'm still on the way. So I'm teaching basic Sanskrit. My students can read Bhagavad Gita, so we are still reading it with them. Yeah, and well, I think that I designed my own methods of teaching like the first level, you know, to give a
Mhm.
good foundation.
Mhm.
Uh, yeah. Also, you know, Sanskrit is not like you come and you just study grammar and that's all. It's like this is language of poetry and language of hymns. So when you study it, we read a lot of poems and we try to sing them. And I
Mhm.
think this part people like the most because, yeah, we have studied some grammar, but
Mhm.
then we choose some hymn or we choose some text, a part of a text, and
Mhm.
we like analyze it together, translate it together, and then we sing it. And this is like it's really funny.
Mhm.
People enjoy it very much.
So would you say can it be compared to the modern study of Latin?
I don't know because I have never studied Latin, you know.
I mean,
Um,
Latin is more so like used more just like a church language, you know, like just reciting hymns, and only people, maybe in a very small group of people, actually speak this in their modern life, you know.
well, you mean how popular Sanskrit is for people to speak, yeah, to like this? The question is.
Yeah, I mean, like some people say that Latin, for example, is like a dead language. So why study it and why appreciate it? You know, why should people study Sanskrit or understand it?
You know, every person finds his own answers to this question. And I had really many people, very different people come into classes,
Mm,
and each of them was looking for a different thing. But what they found in the end, first, like your brain, it's like a gymnastics for your brain
mm,
because it's not usual because dead languages or ancient languages had a bit different way of thinking.
mhm,
When you study any new language, yeah, even modern languages, you are learning to like a new way of thinking. But ancient languages had a complete unique way of thinking,
mm,
and Sanskrit gives it to you. So, for example, there is a word kaga. Kaga means going in the sky. So basically, it's used for the birds, but you
mhm,
can call anything which goes in the sky, which is flying, a kaga. So it develops some kind of metaphorical thinking. Or for example, very popular word dvija. Ja means born and dvi means like twice, born twice.
mhm,
So this is used for birds again, yeah, and for people who had a spiritual rebirth during their life. So
mm,
for people from the highest caste, for example, in India, like Brahman people, yeah,
mhm,
and for every person who had that spiritual rebirth.
mm,
But we can call Dvija anything which is born twice, like any creature that is born in the eggs, you know, for example, it is
mm,
born twice.
mm,
So this helps you to develop this, like, you know, some poetry kind of thinking, poetry kind of um, perception of the world. And it really, it gives you the feeling that it enriches you,
mm,
enriches. Um, or for example, if I will say you such a word as pada pa. Yeah, pa means drinking and pada means legs. So
mm.
drinking with his legs. So this is a tree. Yeah, there is some words for tree, like
Ah,
many words for tree. Yeah, but such things, you know, they may,
mhm,
it's like you're encountering constant riddles, you know, and when you are solving these riddles, this keeps your brain, I think, more healthy and alive. So
mm,
you feel like a child. So there are constant wonders in this language. Um, they never end, and you feel like a child. So this actually, I think, attracts to Sanskrit. So people who start studying Sanskrit, they can't stop. They can make some periods when they do not study, but they come back again and again, continue in this way because it's really interesting. Second thing that Sanskrit has a very huge spiritual tradition and just enormous quantity of texts in different subjects. So in Ayurveda, in Jyotisha, in any science, mathematics, astronomy, like in spiritual, like philosophy, different kind of philosophies, yeah, different kind of religions. So you can find what is like, you can find your way in this. So what is important for you, what you want to know. Many people study Ayurveda in Ukraine, and if you study Ayurveda, you still need to know at least a bit of Sanskrit, and better even to read the original text. Many people, especially after the war has started, study Jyotish, astrology. So Sanskrit is the language of Jyotish, and any religion coming from India, yeah, you need to use it, like Vaishnavism or Shaivism. Yeah, you need to at least to some extent, you need to encounter Sanskrit in your prayers, in your using mantras. So this is the second. Yeah, it gives you knowledge. First, it keeps your mind fresh and young. Second, it gives you knowledge. And maybe third reason to study Sanskrit, what people find studying it, well, they feel calmness, even I notice myself when I feel, for example, irritated because we have a boy, we have a son, and sometimes he does such things that in the end of the day, I feel very irritated. Then I take some text and I started translating, just reading, even a very small, like subhashitas, like wise sayings or some hymn, and I feel like I'm becoming calm, completely calm, and I can come to him, and I'm calm inside, and it helps a lot. And even people who participated in the war, when they came to classes, they said that when they are just writing Devanagari without even thinking what they are writing, just the beginning of studying the language, they feel calm. So it gives freshness of the mind, knowledge, and calmness inside.
So would you say that the language is kind of like a meditation within itself?
Yeah, we can say it's true. It's like a meditation, really. So you read it, you study it, and even when you are studying grammar of Sanskrit, it's like a meditation too. And there are such beautiful texts written in Sanskrit about Sanskrit grammar. For example, in Vaishnavism tradition, there is text written by, I think, Goswami. Yeah, and it's very famous because he described the Sanskrit grammar through his devotion to Krishna. So when you're reading these verses, you just fall in love with this religion, just because it's so sweet, full of the sweetness. Yeah, so really you meditate when you study it. You feel, I don't know, you feel something special. It's not just a common language. You really feel something special.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I think that actually, when I remember a time in my life many years ago, like more than 10 years ago, when I was very, very distressed, very, very like confused about my life, about my purpose, feeling very unbalanced in general, and maybe not taking care of myself, not even eating properly like that, that I got when Bhagavad Gita, and I started to try to read just in the English transliteration. Yeah. I just was reading, and I noticed that as I was reading each sloka, I just felt this like weight come off of me, like my eyes like clearing, the dirt from my eyes, like the dirt from my aura, you can say, just like coming off of me. And it was only slokas, not even any kind of mantra.
Yeah, it's true. I also feel like that. When I'm reading in Sanskrit, especially Bhagavad Gita, I always feel like that. Any verse from Bhagavad Gita has this power of balancing. So it balances us.
Yeah, for sure. So what exactly are you doing with Sanskrit these days?
Well, after our child was born, and then that COVID epidemic started, and then the war, like one by one, I'm just giving lesson like online lessons to people who want to study with me. So some of them study individually, and some of them study in a group. So basically, every Saturday we read Bhagavad Gita, only a few shloks, but they translate it themselves. Here we seen it, and we are discussing it, comparing different translations, and everyone finds answers he or she was looking for. So basically what I'm doing now, I'm just giving classes, and I'm slowly continuing my study, my own study. And also as I said, I applied for a degree, for getting a degree at university online. So so I hope that I will get it.
I think you will. I think it should be easy for you. With all your experience, you already have a foundation. So,
Well, yeah, I hope so.
So we know that you're planning to go to school, get the degree, but what other plans do you have for the future with your Sanskrit?
Well, I think that, I never expected it, but really teaching is like something like which is a part of me, and really I feel happy when I teach. So I think I will continue teaching, and maybe one day it will help me to organize some, I don't know, Sanskrit center or some Sanskrit like small school. I think it would be interesting to have such a place in Ukraine, if I will stay in Ukraine, because you never know, such things are happening. But still, I was thinking even maybe it would be nice to create, even for example, in India, but for Western people. So Western people could come, and in a comfortable way for them to study Sanskrit, for example, or just for Ukrainians to come, something like that. So also, I want to make something for children, because of course there are very few children in Ukraine, or parents who would like their children to study Sanskrit in Ukraine. But I think it would be nice to have to make it possible, to at least to have such an opportunity, to have books designed for children, to have some materials for children, to teach them playing, Sanskrit. So who knows? There are such predictions for the future that not only few people, but the whole world will be turning back to its roots, to ancient religions, to ancient beliefs, to connection, to be more connected with nature. That maybe more people will be interested in Sanskrit and other languages.
So do you feel like Sanskrit gives a greater connection with nature?
I think it gives you greater connection with your real you. I don't know how it is called in English, like your real I. I mean, not I like I, like your real self. Your real self. No, not like no. Yeah, your real self. Atman. Yeah, Atman.
Your soul?
Your real self. We can call it soul. Yeah, with your soul. Okay. And when you feel connected to your soul, you can't feel disconnected from nature. Yeah, you immediately feel closer to animals, to trees, to all this beautiful world.
Yeah. True. So can we talk about, have you had any big important collaborations, like international, with your work?
I only worked with the embassy of Ukraine, and also as I'm interested in Ayurveda, I think it was in the 2019. Yeah, there was an Ayurveda conference in Ukraine, like the first Congress of Ayurveda in Ukraine. And I was there as a translator and as a like anchor of the program. And after that, like different people invited me to translate on these topics like Ayurveda medicine. So I worked with some organizations from India who were giving lectures for Western people, for Russian-speaking people, basically. So I was translating them, the doctors. After that, I worked with another famous doctor. He uses the name of Paramguru. Maybe once you will find some information about him. So I was translating his lectures also. So, and I think that's all because, after the child was born and so many events happened, I had my work was very much restricted because of many reasons. So last year's in question of profession were quite difficult for me. It's a feeling when you have so many ideas, you want to do so many things, but you just can't because you need to do so many things, so many different things, and you just need to wait when this period will end. I think like that, something like that.
Yeah, I understand you.
Yeah.
So do you feel like now we know that words have power, right? We know that words have power, and some people may say that these ancient languages hold a greater power. Would you agree with this?
Well, with Sanskrit, for sure it is so. Yeah, Sanskrit has greater power, but still, there are always two, like not two sides, but two parts. Yeah, the one who is speaking and the words he is using. So if the one who is speaking does not have any power inside, so he is very dirty-minded, he is very dirty-hearted. So he can use Sanskrit, but I think it will not do good for him. But in the same way, from the opposite, yeah, Sanskrit can start working on him and like giving some kind of purity, maybe, and maybe this will awaken something from the from the inside. And so Sanskrit can help for people who are seeking some help from the language. It can help. It is really so. So that's why it was called divine, and it is called divine. Yeah. So it gives this some divine energy which can help you to overcome your own restrictions of your mind, of your senses, but still you need to do something for this too. So I agree that really ancient languages hold some power. It's true. But it's very important who uses them and how.
So can it be used for a malicious purpose?
Well, everything can be used for malicious purpose,
Because
But
as we know, for example, in Mahabharat, they it was we hear about the stories of the sages spoke incantations and spoke curses or even created from their words weapons. Of course, I mean, in modern day, we know that we don't have that kind of power. Maybe nobody does, but still the words hold some power, is it not?
yeah, it's true. But of course, I don't think that anyone from the modern world, yeah, just common people can create a weapon using Sanskrit or anything, not to such extent. Yeah, it does hold power, but not to such extent for us, only because we don't have it. We can imagine like that language is like a magical wand, yeah. But if you don't have this magic inside you, how can you produce it through the language? Yeah, it does hold some magic itself, yeah. But you need to be equal to it. You need to be, I don't know, worthy maybe to it. So that's why those sages still they were some ascetics, yeah. They made some penances, right? Is the correct pronunciation? Penances.
Yeah,
Penances.
yeah.
Okay. So they did have that spiritual power. Yeah, and maybe somewhere in Indian jungles or in Himalayas, there are still such saints that could do such things, but I don't know them.
Yeah, maybe in the Himalayas, yeah, something like that. We hear all sorts of stories about. I've heard, in certain places, friends of mine have seen that. Oh my goodness, these yogis were floating even, and I've heard the story also that there are some yogis who are still living and they're hundreds of years old, with this kind of power. But anyway, I have not seen this with my own eyes. I have not met with my own eyes such personalities. But finally, I want to talk with you because we are on a podcast which is focusing on women and the power of women and empowering women. I want to say in the Sanskrit sphere, are women like equally represented? Is there an equal number of women to men studying this language?
Well, I think in the world, I think yes. So
Mm.
there is no problem with, with some uh, suppression of women's rights and studying Sanskrit. And there are many Indian scholars, Sanskrit scholars, and many scholars all around the world. So I think that exactly in this sphere, we have equal opportunities.
Mm.
But equal are equal, but when you have children, when you
Mm.
have so many things, yeah, which can make big pauses in your career, in your studies, of course. So you don't feel equal in this periods to men.
Mm.
Yeah, but still, yeah, women have opportunity to study Sanskrit, and in my groups there are usually more women than men.
Mhm.
Maybe because women, feel this urge to find the answers, to find something which could like not only inspire, but which could give some, I don't know, energy, like a well, like well with
Well,
water. No, well with water.
oh, a well,
Well,
yeah, a
a
well.
well, yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. So it's something like that. So women are looking for something, maybe because they are more intuitive. Yeah,
Mm.
so and that's why they are usually like some, I can say usually they are more into religion, more into such in astrology, in Ayurveda, in
Mm.
Sanskrit, in Indian dances and so on.
Mm. Yeah, at least here in Ukraine,
Yeah, at least
I
here in
think
Ukraine.
I think you're right. Yeah, women are more represented. Um, and I've seen the examples of women bringing men into like bringing their partners
Yeah.
along with them on this kind of spiritual journey. Yeah, I've definitely seen that. Okay, we just finished the podcast, and I'm interjecting here because I think I'm going to cut the video and put this in the middle in another part. But um, Alexandra and I were just speaking after the podcast, and we realized that we have more important and interesting points to touch upon, which is like I have interviewed before on this podcast women who are into their career and really building themselves in their career. And of course, Alex, our guest here, she has this career going in Sanskrit, and we were just discussing after the recording that um, there have been challenges for her. So can you just continue with what you're saying?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I said that, yeah, women need support of women and especially some shared experience of women, of other women. And when after giving birth to a child, we moved to another city and I felt disconnected from my friends, from my family, from other people who were part of my circle of my previous life. So my life divided into two parts, before giving birth and after. And after giving birth, I felt really lonely,
Mm.
and this loneliness and feeling like of being lost in life. When you don't know for sure, it was not only for 1 year, it was for few years. I
Mm.
had a kind of who knows, yeah, about Sada Sati or Sarhe Sati.
Mm.
I had like a light version of it, so I felt completely disconnected, lost. I had some ambitions, but I did not have no energy, no time, no possibilities to fulfill them. And at that time, I felt like I needed support of other women. I needed them to tell me that it's just a period of time, like to share with me how I can with this, some schemes, what to do with a child, what to do with the household, what to do with how to find other people, how can I. Okay.
Okay, sorry, we did get disconnected. There was a issue with the internet. So yes, please continue, Alex.
Yeah, so I just want to say that that's why such podcasts and some like women gathering things are so much important. Yeah, because so many women feel lost and so many women feel lonely, and they need support of the women who experienced something similar. That's why in this case you feel like, okay, this person can really share his experience with me. He can really give good advice because I believe him. He experienced almost the same.
Mm.
That's why what you are doing is so important.
Is there someone in that? Anyway, yeah, no, I want to just say about what you mentioned with how you actually have more female students coming in your classes. Does it make it more like a women's sangha kind of meeting?
Um, well, I don't know because we still have men, but
Um,
what I like about our classes and people who come to me, we feel comfortable. So I don't know, maybe only some type of people come to me. Maybe because people are attracted to people who have similar, I don't know, vibrations or some similar beliefs or something. Yeah. So Wi-Fi, we are like broadcasting. Yeah. So people attracted to similar people. But men and women in my class, at my classes, feel very comfortable together.
mhm.
So, and I think maybe this is also, what people sometimes miss, or people like lack this feeling of brotherhood, sisterhood, when you can express yourself and feel comfort and enjoy communication with other people, and like everyone feels equal and feels like loved, I don't know, feels supported, feels respected. So this is really important. It is called healthy emotional environment.
Definitely. So do you feel like Sanskrit helps, I mean, you mentioned it helps connect to the soul, right? Do you feel like it helps connect to divine femininity?
Well, I think yes, if you are looking for it, it can help you, of course. But it can, when people are following some esoterical, I don't know, teachings or practices,
Mhm.
sometimes they go into some extremes. So
Mm,
they go from the middle path.
mm,
And what I like about Sanskrit, it helps you to return on the middle. So in the
mhm,
middle,
mhm.
we have three channels in our body. So the Sushumna, yeah. So in the middle.
What are the three channels in the body?
Well, we have like nadis, yeah, in our
Mm,
body, like where energy is floating.
mm,
And for example, people who are in the right channel, yeah, mostly experience such emotions.
mm,
Like right channel is believed to be male or sun channel.
mm,
Left channel is female and like moon channel. And
mm,
only the middle channel is like the perfect or ideal middle. And when we are in the middle, we don't go into extremes. And this is a way how like to maybe to come closer to our soul, to our heart. Yeah,
mm,
because our soul is in the middle. So
mm,
this is like a way of wisdom, we can say.
mm,
And Sanskrit helps to return because the sounds of Sanskrit, they balance our mind, they
mhm,
calm it, pacify it, they calm our, I think, like senses. Yeah, and when you feel calm and you feel most, and they bring you to the center. And when you feel centered, then you make better choices. And then maybe it helps you on your way, on the way of your soul, yeah, why it was born here. So I think like this. So I believe in this. So it really helps. It does help.
So Sanskrit can help you to find your life purpose.
It can help for sure, you know, because speaking about life purpose, we all come to it by different ways. So it, of course, it can for some people.
I see.
Yeah, because when you study Sanskrit, yeah, you come to new notions for you. So maybe you have never thought about such things as Atman, you know, as a spirit all pervading the universe. Yeah, and some like even karma, you know, things like that, and many other things. Yeah, they are new for you, but when you learn them, so you perceive the world different way. And when you perceive in a different way, you have different feelings, you have different thoughts, you have different ideas, and you make different choices.
Interesting. So is it impossible to be an atheist if you study Sanskrit?
To be an atheist?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know, because I'm not an atheist, and people who come to me, I think they're also not. You know, I believe that atheist. Well, there are, you know, there is one school of philosophy in Sanskrit. I mean, in India, they are like materialists. So materialists are very close to atheists. Yeah, Charvakas. They are called Charvakas. So it was possible then, yeah, to be an atheist. So they deny God's presence and God's plan and everything. But very few people, I think, become Charvaka. Most people become, you know, Shaiva or Vaishnava or other traditions. Personally, I believe that when you are studying a divine language, you feel more divinity in your life, and it started to come in different ways. And when you feel your soul better, yeah, you feel God closer. So it's one of the ways to come to God. Yeah, I think so. It can be, you know, we're all different, but it can be as one of the ways.
We know about, I don't know if you know about or kind of agree with this philosophy that the path of practice can bring us to the divine, to be close to the divine. And normally, I feel this is spoken about with spiritual practice, you know, practicing some kind of prayer or meditation. But I see for many people that it's like practicing whatever it is they do, could be musical instrument or a sport or even like studying a language like this, that this steady practice can bring them to a higher plane.
Yeah, it can be so, of course, especially if what you practice is close to your heart, you know, so you really feel it. So it can be also a way. I think that in this case, your attitude towards what you are doing, yeah, helps to develop it to such a level, yeah, to find the God in it. So yeah, of course, it is possible.
Yeah. So do you
So
feel
it's not
that
important. Sometimes it's not important what we do. Yeah, you don't need like to study Sanskrit to feel God inside, but it's important to find the correct attitude to what you are doing, to your everyday activity, to everything, which can help you to feel peace, yeah, and your soul and God and everything.
So I want to ask in relation to this, it's like the second part of the question, is studying Sanskrit a spiritual practice in itself, or is it like a spiritual practice for you?
I think it depends on the person. So it can be spiritual practice. So your attitude defines, yeah, what it will be for you. Will it be just I don't know, actually a class, you know, a grammar topic, or it will be I don't know, profound diving into some ideas and some, I don't know, beliefs. yeah, which helps you to find answers your heart is looking for. So you decide.
I see. So one final thing I want to ask is, how can the viewers get in touch with you, or how can they find out more about what you're doing?
I have pages in Facebook. It is called Sanskrit Club.
Mm-hmm.
And I have my personal pages.
Mm-hmm.
So Alexandra Lokman, you can find me in
Mm-hmm.
Facebook or Instagram. So I'm there.
Are your classes recorded?
Yeah, of course. I always record all my classes, like group classes, not individual. Yeah, so there are like collections of recordings already for different
Are they
topics.
like out for everyone to watch?
Well, I usually make only not no, I think that after I will start studying it in the university, I will make more like content in social networks,
Mm-hmm.
and then more things will be available for watching, for studying.
Mm-hmm. So do you have an English language group?
Um, well, one person was asking me about can I conduct an English, but I don't have an English group yet. I think that, I'm not an English native speaker, and usually native speakers tend to come to native speakers.
Mm-hmm.
So usually it happens like that, and I understand them.
Yeah.
But if they won't study with me, it's possible in the future, of course.
Mm-hmm. Okay, one last thing. How do you feel studying Sanskrit?
Well, as I said, yeah, I feel like inspired myself. And every time I have difficult periods, sometimes, I even had periods when I wanted to stop teaching Sanskrit, to stop studying Sanskrit, and to change profession completely.
Mm-hmm.
And I even consulted an astrologer to check my chart.
Mm-hmm.
And astrologer told me, no, you are a teacher and you need to teach Sanskrit, so come back and do this. So Sanskrit supports me.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like supports morally.
Mm-hmm.
And, in my case, it is happening maybe because I feel like this is my sphere and I feel myself like comfortable and happy in it. So my way in Sanskrit is happening itself, like intuitively. I don't know, like
Mm-hmm.
itself. So so it is all developing itself, and
Mm-hmm.
I hope that I'm right that yeah, it's my path, and
Mm-hmm.
I could create something good for people on it on this path.
And what would you say to those people who are studying Sanskrit or thinking about studying Sanskrit and they might have some doubt about this?
Well, don't doubt, just try.
Mm.
Just try, just maybe think what you are really interested in. Yeah, I mean, Sanskrit is a very broad subject,
Mhm.
but maybe when you just start from the Devanagari, you will fall in love with the pronunciation, with the script, with the first short poems. Or
Mm.
maybe I would say just start with singing mantras and singing hymns, because when you sing, you feel happy, you remember faster. Yeah,
Mm.
when you sing something, you remember faster.
Mm.
And this will be a good start. Just start with singing. Yeah, maybe this is my best advice. Start with singing, with
Mm.
mantras, with hymns.
As I understand Sanskrit, in Sanskrit, it is kind of sung, right? No matter what you're reading, it's like a song.
Yeah. It has rhythm.
Mm.
So even mathematic texts in mathematics or in astronomy are written in poems.
Mm.
So
Interesting.
yeah, and it's
Yeah.
easier to remember them this way, yeah, because every time we have a rhythm,
Mm.
it's easier to remember by heart, I mean.
Wow. There's a lot to get into with it. So Alexandra, I want to thank you so much for coming on the show today. It was lovely to have you, and we are going to put your links down below so anyone can contact you if they have any questions for you. Thank you so much for being here, and
Thank you for inviting me.
okay, wish you love and light to all the viewers out there, and take care. Bye.
Yeah, take care. Goodbye. Namaste.